I am so excited to be here today with Sarah. And Sarah is a friend, someone that I see out in the community. I know, Sarah, you and I often bump into each other at random coffee shops in town, which is always
Yeah.
super fun. But why don't we just kick it right off and jump right in? Tell us a little bit more, Sarah, about who you are.
Yeah, I'd love to. I live here in West Fargo. Been here for about 18 years. Went to NDSU to get my degree, and so now I'm a mom to three beautiful daughters, sassy daughters, and wife to a North Dakota farmer. And passionate about people, community cheerleader, and just really a lover of trying new things.
Awesome. Well, I know that you shared a little bit about your faith story with me, and so I wanted to just jump off right from the start and say, do you want to tell us more about your faith journey, what that's been like throughout your life?
Yeah, definitely. So I was baptized Catholic, and I'm from a small town of 500 people. We had two churches in our town, and they were both Lutheran. So we always had to drive to a different town to our church. And my dad had actually taught the high school students for Bible study there. And so I'd go and tag along and get to listen in on the Bible studies, which was fun. But then my church didn't really have like an active youth group or many activities going on, and so all of my friends and our family friends were kind of spearheading those things in our hometown. So they just welcomed me to join in, and they would have things like fifth quarter after basketball games, or they just have pizza and get-togethers, and so I started going to those things more. And then we started taking a trip out to Colorado and Estes Park up in the mountains, and we went to a youth retreat every summer. We'd take this broken down van in mid-July, 100-degree heat, no AC, with this group of kids, and it was so fun. But it was really where I think my faith journey started. It was really where I got to see, what that meant to people, what it meant to me. It made me self-reflect on who is God, what is God, how does that impact my life and play a role in that. And so from there, probably about 15, it's really grown stronger. And throughout high school, into my college days, into my, adulthood, it just has grown stronger through different life, occurrences in my journey. So it's really at the forefront of what's important to me and my priorities.
Well, now, Sarah, tell us a little bit more about your career background and then tell us what you have going on now, because I think that you've done a lot of really cool things. And I know you're in a bit of a transition. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's really funny. And I start this conversation with people that I say I checked all the boxes that, I wasn't going to do. So I think it's just a testament to, you never know what's planned for you or what life's going to bring. So my degree is in apparel and textiles. The plan was to go out to New York, live in my, one bedroom apartment, go and walk into work with my little coffee and all by myself doing the fashion thing. And so that did not happen. I stayed in Fargo, finished my degree at NDSU, and so I ended up um, meeting a farmer, getting married. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I finished. I went from little jobs of banking to a wedding dress shop, and then I took a step back when I was at Microsoft for about 4 years doing event planning, and I just I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was fortunate enough to be in a situation where I could take a little break for a few months. And I just have always loved volunteering. I got more involved in the community, and I actually just Googled volunteer opportunities. And the first one that came up was Emergent Prairie, which a lot of people are familiar with. And so at the time, they had their 1 million cups event. And I was like, this sounds interesting. I could do that. So I met with the events coordinator, started helping out, and I was like, oh, entrepreneurs, innovation. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds super cool. So I started helping with that. And that's kind of what led me into my role with a VC, a venture capital. And so it was focused on ag tech, which is agricultural technology, to help growers globally. And weird, my husband's a farmer, and so it just was like the perfect match between, the tech background at Microsoft and, having the family business of being an ag. And so I was like, I need to do this. And I did that for a few years and I just loved it. I loved it. I met so many great people, and learned so much about the industry, but also about the community. I got to make so many connections, and it's been a really great ride. And so at the end of last year, again, I took a little step back and took some time away. So now I'm trying to navigate through a little bit of uncharted territory of what I'm doing, not being in the corporate world, but I'm really just enjoying my time being a mom, being with my kids more, being able to attend all the things that I want to attend for them, because it goes so fast. And so I've set some personal goals of, reading more books and learning a new language or being even more involved in the community. So it just, the time now, it really allows me to do some of those things. So I'm really trying to appreciate and enjoy that time I have.
Well, and I know you're kind of a mover and a shaker. And so taking a step back to be a mom and focus on being a mom versus being in that corporate world, what sorts of thoughts have gone through your head? How emotionally, how have you dealt with that transition of maybe not knowing what's next and being in this moment of transition?
It's honestly really been a struggle. I've never not worked. So this is, like I said, very uncharted territory for me. But it goes back to, I hear a lot, trust the process, just trust your faith, have faith. And that's something I really try to do. And it's something that I've really needed to do the last few months here. And it's definitely hard to do that, to give up that control, right? To not know, not see the next step where you're going. But I think it's trying to look at it from a different perspective of just embrace this, enjoy the time. This is where you're meant to be, even if it's not where you plan to be. So I think it's just really being grateful for what's coming.
Have you found that you've been able to connect with any other moms or any other Christian moms around being in this phase of life that you're in?
Um, I have not yet, but I have very supportive friends and family. I talk through this with a few of them, and they've all kind of unanimously had the same response of just enjoy it, just relax. What's meant to be will happen. So just enjoy it. Like go to your kids' games. Embrace the craziness. You know, do the housewife thing, the laundry and the dishes and the glorified, chauffeur for the kids. And I'm really enjoying that. I'm really trying to just love the time, and I really do.
Well, and the reason why I was asking is just because I could imagine that because you come from being in the corporate world, going to being a mom and just staying home. And I hate to throw in that word just, by the way, because I think we often use the term I'm just a stay-at-home mom, but that's such a huge responsibility. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much that goes into it. But I asked that question around if you've connected with any other moms because I can imagine that if everyone in your circle is all working, how that could be tough to feel supported, and that could often maybe feel a little bit isolating to be in that spot.
I could definitely see that perspective. And I mean, if any of you out there are in the same situation, let's connect for sure.
Yes.
Um, but I think it just really helped that the friends and family in my, close circle has been so supportive. I mean, nobody has ever been like, you need to go find another job. You need to go do this. They were like, enjoy it. Like, we would love to be where you are. Um, they've just been very positive about it. So it's helped me to feel more comfortable in the place where I am, where maybe me as a person, I'm like, I need to be busy. I was almost glorifying the burnout and the long hours and the so many meetings, my schedule is so packed. And I'm like, do I miss that? But it's okay. Like it's almost liberating to be
Mhm.
in this situation.
Well, and why do you think it's so hard for you and us as humans to pause and enjoy life and slow down? Why do you think that's so hard for us?
I think it's just been instilled in us, right? Like from an early age, it's you work hard, you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, right? Like that's the journey that you're supposed to take. You work for so many years and you retire, but I think that's just what society says. The typical, like when you say just a stay at home mom, like that was my thought. And it's almost even now when I'm attending events or, meeting people and they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm just staying home right now. And it feels so awkward to say that because I've just never had to say that. And I think the picture has been painted of, oh, you're just a stay at home mom. But like you said, being a mom is, a full-time job. And a lot of women are doing that or dads, stay-at-home dads. Their parents are doing that, on top of holding corporate jobs. So I think we need to change the narrative a little bit of, you can do both. And like it's okay to whatever you're doing, if you're staying home you're still busy, right? I've had the question a little bit of, have you gotten bored? I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's always a to-do list a million miles long, and I think sometimes until you're in the actual situation, a lot of people, don't truly know. I mean, I was one where I was like, what do stay-at-home moms do? And I'm like, oh, this is what they do, and I think it was the right time in my life for this to happen, for me to be home because I don't think I would have appreciated it, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it just,
Well, so what advice do you have for other, we'll say for other moms or dads, like you said, there could be stay-at-home dads out there too. What advice do you have for them maybe when it comes to just maybe, let's see, how do I want to put this? Helping, how can we help support stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads as a community, as a culture? How can we offer that support for those who are maybe not staying at home and don't maybe fully understand what that's like?
I think when it comes to those situations, it's just really educating people. I mean, like I said, I was kind of, like, what do stay at home moms do? Like, what do you do? But until I was in this situation, then I understood. Then it's not that I didn't think they did not do anything. It's just different when you're in this situation, right? You don't know until you are there. But I think it's really just being supportive as a community. And there's a lot of things. There's the Fargo Mom, where I look at a lot. What are the events going on? I appreciate that they put things out there, right in front of you of here's all the things you can do with your kids or events going on. You can do things as a family. So it's just things of the support of, hey, it's okay that you're staying home, like here's the things that you can do, with your time, with your kids,
Mhm.
um, and still feel like you're part of the community or, the drop in daycares or, things like that. Do you need a break? Do you need, because people know that being a stay-at-home mom or a full-time mom in general, is a big job and everybody needs a break. So I think
Mm.
it's just helpful to ease that uncertainty in people that are like, like I know I should be able to do this, even though I'm staying home, but I still need a break.
Mhm. Well, and when you just said it, those two different ways, you said a stay-at-home mom and then you said a full-time mom. That really clicked for me because I'm thinking in terms of just language and how it's positioned. Hearing you
Right.
say, I'm a full-time mom, that just to me, that is such a better, maybe I shouldn't say better way to say it, but I think that that really puts more emphasis on I'm a full-time mom. This is a full-time job. So I love how you said it both ways and that really resonated with me when you said it that way.
Yeah. And I think we do need to change the how it's worded, right? You know, people
Mhm.
get labels and it goes back to the just. Um, I think the more people are aware of, you know, how you're saying it and how it's perceived and how it's coming off, it's totally different. And it can really make somebody feel different, right? Rather than saying, oh, she's just a stay-at-home mom, or no, you're a full-time mom. That's a huge job. And making people feel like, yes, you're still important. You play a vital role. And in fact, my husband even made that comment of, you know, I really appreciate all that you do at home because it
Mhm.
takes a lot off my plate to focus, you know, on other things where I probably that are more important that need to be prioritized with work. And so it's just the appreciation of what your role is, no matter what it is.
Well, and that's what, as you were talking, it made me think of the person who's in a job where they maybe feel like the low person on a totem pole in a sense. So for example, I'll just say like an administrative assistant. As an example, I think some people that are in a more of an assistant role where they're not at the top of the food chain in a company, they think, oh, I am just an administrative assistant, or I am just this, I am just that. I think sometimes we put so much worth on our job that it's hard to see that I am a child of God. And it doesn't matter what position I'm in, whether it's a full-time mom or a full-time administrative assistant or a full-time CEO. Um, everyone has such an important area of life that they're serving in.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on, how your relationship with God has maybe been evolving in the last 6 months through this experience?
I think it's almost like relying on him, you know, it's again giving up that control of I don't have to control every step. I don't have to control everything. And it's really hard for a lot of us to give that up, but I just need to trust the process. It's self reflection. It's, you know, that self love talk of it's okay where you are. This is where you're meant to be. Everything happens for a reason. And, you know, that's something that I truly believe in, whether it's from a religious standpoint or not. Like, I think everything happens for a reason. And it's just being okay and accepting that, you know, this is where you're supposed to be. There's a quote of, you know, you have to give up the life you plan to embrace the life that was waiting for you or meant for you. And I
Mm.
think that's so true. It rings true of, I mean, I am living proof of that. I am not New York, you know, living by myself, doing my fashion thing. I am living in North Dakota, married to a farmer with kids, where checking all those boxes that was never in my plan. But this is the life that was meant for me. This is the life God had planned for me. And I honestly could not be more grateful for that. And so it really is, you need to just trust it. I've trusted my faith. I've trusted God to lead me to what is meant for me.
Mm. Have there been any moments where you were like, because you seem very at peace, and I'm wondering if there were any like pivotal turning points for you in the last few months where you came to that peace? Because I know when we first were talking about you making this transition, it didn't seem like you were at as much of a place of peace as you are
Mhm.
now. So I'm just curious, like, is there anything that's changed for you, whether it be a mindset or an event or a conversation that you had with a person or with God? Tell us more about that.
I think it might be all of the above. I mean, stepping into any situation, like unknown situation, it's scary and uncomfortable. It's literally like you're on stairs and you can't see the next step and you're like, what am I doing? But you have to trust that it's there, right? Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So I think just um, for me, it was really just self reflecting. It's the self talk of, um, I feel like I talk to God a lot. And it probably sounds strange, but if I'm in my car or, you know, whatever my emotion is, I'm having these conversations in my head, maybe out loud of God, just help me understand this. Um, why am I in this situation? How can I navigate through this? And I think it was really just trying to talk through that with him, right? Where, why am I here? You know, why should I be okay with this? How do I ease that uncertainty and that anxiety of not knowing? Um, and I think it's just the more I'm in this role and the more time, I get to do things that I love. Just for spring break, I was able to spend the entire day with my kids, taking them rock climbing, taking them for lunch, just hanging out with them, laughing. And it's self-reflecting of I wouldn't have gotten to do that had I been in a corporate job, right? Like I would have missed out on all these things. And I think it's those moments that make me appreciate and take a step back to say, oh, yep, this is why, you're showing me this is why I'm here. This is, and I think that's what makes me at peace is that, yep, I love this. These are the moments that I'm living for. And so this is so much better than back to back Zoom calls. I mean, so
Well,
it
sorry.
just,
I know we're on a Zoom call
no,
right
no, no.
now. Oh my gosh.
But it,
So Sarah, when you were talking about like watching them rock climb and having the opportunity to do that, I was thinking, what does it feel like to be able to hang out with your girls and not feel like you have to be checking your email and phone constantly? I mean, that to me all of a sudden was this big like light bulb moment of you don't have that, I hate to say burden, right? I mean,
mhm.
tell me more, tell me more about that.
It's amazing. It just you're allowed to be in the moment. You're allowed to enjoy what's happening, without feeling guilty of, oh, I should be checking emails or feeling guilty of, oh, did I do this? Should I be, what's next on my schedule? I'm dreading that next meeting. I only have 10 minutes left to spend with them. You don't have that. And I think that's what's so liberating and like enjoyable about this role, this new role, right? Of staying home. And so you get to fully be present, which I think a lot of people would love to do and love to be in. And they're not able to. And I think I feel very lucky and fortunate to be able to have that and just spend the time. They always say, kids grow up so fast, time goes so fast, and it's so true. So I think just being grateful for those little moments that you get and the time you get. I mean, I almost forgot that, like, I'm like, oh, this is not normal for a lot of people. This is not normal for a lot of moms. They don't get to do this. So I really truly appreciate the time that I have.
Well, and I just think about when we're not distracted by things, you can see the beauty in everything that God's created around you. And it gives you this opportunity to, like you said, be fully present. And when we're fully present, I notice God's handiwork everywhere when I'm more mindful of where my feet are planted at the moment. So I just think that's a beautiful thought, is just you do have this amazing opportunity to be more present. And I keep just wondering, gosh, whether or not, I know you've talked about probably wanting to eventually maybe go back into work and having a job in the future again, or a different job in the future
Mhm.
again than your full-time mom job right now. But do you think that you will view work differently after having this experience? Tell me more about that.
I think for sure. And I think this was probably a transition. This was meant to be. And I think looking back in hindsight, I could see that. I used to pride myself on, the burnout, the long hours, working till 2, 3 a.m. I'm like, oh, I've worked so hard. I've worked so many hours. I was up all night, almost like a humble brag. And it got to a point where I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why do people do that? And I think that's when I started to really shift my mindset of let's do, I want to be able to just close my computer at 5 o'clock when my kids are home and enjoy time with them. I don't want to have to be multitasking on the computer while trying to listen to them read or tell me a story about their day. I don't want to have to always be looking at my phone, checking emails while I'm trying to put them to bed. So it was really slowly I tried to um, create that balance, right? To create that and cut it off of this is family time, this is work time. Um, and so slowly, I think it got to that point, and now it's to the point where I'm with them all the time. They have my full attention, and so it was really, I think, a transition in the making for a long time.
Hmm. What do you think your girls have to say about spending this extra time with you?
I think they love it. I mean, I would hope that they love it.
They will look back,
um,
I'm sure, and really
yes.
appreciate it.
Yeah, but I mean, even, just my oldest daughter and I just took a trip to Arizona, on a long weekend. And so it's just things like that that I would be missing out on. It's opportunities that are there now that I can truly enjoy. I can truly give that time to my kids as well. And so I feel like I can't feel guilty about that. I can't find anything wrong with that. So I can't find anything wrong with this being in this situation then.
Hmm. Well, like I said, it's beautiful to watch you come to this point of peace. And I know we talked a lot about how God has a plan. And so, how are there any other things or tips that you would give for someone who's struggling with seeing what God's plan is for their life and having a tough time finding that peace?
I think it's habits, right? You create them. It's just like working out. It's consistency, it's self-discipline. What I found worked for me was just the self-reflection, was the self-talk of, I need to just give this to God. I need to just follow his plan. I need to allow things to happen the way they were supposed to happen because I've seen, in black and white that I can plan something, but it's not necessarily going to happen, i.e., checking all the boxes that I was not going to check for my life. And so, definitely, you know, it's it's talking to people, it's finding the support, it's having supportive friends and family, it's finding the things that you love to do. It just gives you that reassurance of this is what you're meant to be doing. Um, for example, I teach Sunday school for my daughter's class, and it's how I'm always asking, how can I get involved in this? And finding things that you enjoy. So I think it just finding different opportunities in those uncertain times. And I think it just helps you to navigate and open up and see things from different perspectives of, yes, maybe this isn't where you wanted to be, where you plan to be, but it's where you're meant to be.
Hmm. Well, it's interesting. Yeah, when you mentioned teaching Sunday school, sometimes I find we're afraid to teach others about our experiences, kind of like what you're doing right now. You're sharing your faith story, and we get nervous because the imposter syndrome sets in. But I think what happens is the more that we do share our faith, and whether it's through Sunday school or a Bible study, have the
Mhm,
opportunity to talk about it, we actually grow stronger in it ourselves. um,
mhm.
I'm I'm sure that through talking to your girls in Sunday school, I'm sure that that's been a really exciting opportunity for you to also grow closer to God.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's trying to instill that in my kids too, but also finding, I've attended different Bible studies, even with some girlfriends in the community who just get together and like read a book together, talk about their faith, how it's in their daily lives, how they're incorporating that, how they stay strong in their faith, in a world. I think now the perspective is, people don't talk about religion and their faith because they're like, oh, you just don't talk about it. It's controversial. I don't want to get labeled as, the different terms that people use of a Jesus freak or a Bible, thing or things like that. Um, but it's not necessarily, there's people where I think they're very strong in their faith, but you aren't pushing it on people. It's not the people that are um, like, you have to do this, you have to believe what I believe. It's finding like-minded people that share the same faith, the same journey as you, the same mindset as you of wanting to talk about that. I think it's just finding that support group.
Absolutely, and just opening that conversation. I think I've been surprised even by just the conversations I've had with people where I'll mention something about my faith and they'll say, "Oh, I'm a Christian too." And it's kind of this instant connection and you want to surround yourself with people of similar values. And I think especially in our busy hustle world that everyone is trying to chase something, it can be hard to remember to surround yourself with really good, like-minded people like you're talking about. And so I'm just curious, how do you think for those that are just really pushing pedal to the metal, working super hard, super busy, and also Christians, how do you think it's possible to maintain that Christian faith in that busy day-to-day schedule? And then the second thing I would add is I know you mentioned something about like celebrity athlete story or speech that you maybe wanted to share. So I think that goes along with this, if you wouldn't mind sharing that, Sarah.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, you're right. We do get caught up in our busy day-to-day lives, but I think it's really having that self-discipline or just that taking those few moments to just reflect on being grateful to what's truly important to me. How, I try to think daily of when I come across situations, how would Jesus want me to handle this? How would God want me to handle this? Where's the integrity? How to be a good, genuine human, right? It seems like a simple task, but it seems like a tough feat for a lot of people. Um, and I think it's we just have this standard or status quo of what people are, who they are, where they should be, going back to the stay-at-home moms or, but you see athletes and celebrities that when they're giving thank you speeches, the first thing that pretty much all of them do is thank God first. And I think that whether it's for show or they truly believe that, I think that they have to have some inkling of faith and gratefulness for that, or they wouldn't even mention that. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that realize, I've put in this hard work, it's my talent and it's my time and it's um, my qualities, but really at the behind that it comes from God. It comes from your God-given talent. It comes from your God-given hard work, that. And I think we need to be more mindful and appreciative of that, from where it's coming from, the root of it. And I think that just being grateful for what he's given us and what you have, what you're capable of doing, really it's not just you and you alone, right? It's God helping you. It's God giving you those talents. It's putting you in those situations to use your purpose.
Mm. I love that. And I think you're absolutely right. It is interesting how a lot of, people who have made it far in life, they do acknowledge God. And I would think that, I've heard the more you get to the top, the harder life can be sometimes, because once you get to that level of being a famous celebrity or a pro athlete, the pressure just grows and grows. And so I think if you were in that position, probably needing faith to lean on in order to stay strong amidst all the pressures that you feel from people and things. But that is a really interesting point to think about. I'm wondering, for you, Sarah, are there any stories in the Bible or Bible verses that you particularly like to lean on when you're maybe having a tough day, or trying to make it through a week?
Yeah, I think it's so, just to preface, I think it's so hard to, I guess it's easy to be jealous and envious of other people's. It's the comparison is a thief of joy, right? We're always wanting to look like this supermodel, to be like this athletic celebrity. We're wanting all the money, the fortune, the fame. Um, but I think we need to also stop and think is what's real of that too. And then also it's quick to judge people. It's easy to point the finger and pass the blame. But I think in those situations, I try to think we all have faults, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And that's meant for a reason, right? None of us are going to be on the same level as God with the perfection. And I think there's a verse, John 8:7, I believe it is, but it's, he who has no sin cast the first stone. And it's one I honestly think about a lot. It's, when I want to say, well, this happened because you didn't do this right. You should have done this better. Maybe I should have done something better then. So it's just taking the time to step back and say, hey, looking at this situation from a big picture, how should I be handling this? Because it's a team effort. I can only take responsibility for me. I can only control me. I can't control other people. So it's, if you're having a difficult boss, maybe that will never change. Well, then how do I change how I deal with that or how I react? I think it's really controlling the things that you can control, and just accepting the things you can't change, right? And so it's a lot of, I don't read the Bible daily. I never have. I don't go to church every Sunday, but a lot of my friends don't even know that I'm religious and that my faith is important to me because it's something I keep very private, but it's something that's so important to me. It's my number one priority, my faith, God, how I live my life, how I want to live my life. It's always a reflection of Him. How should I be living? How should I be treating people? How should I be interacting with people? What can I do to make a difference and to fulfill my purpose in life? I'm always self-reflecting on, what does that mean? Is this where I'm supposed to be? And it really comes back to my faith. It's the most important thing to me.
Mm. Well, what I love, Sarah, is it sounds like you've done a lot of self-reflection. We've talked about self-reflection a lot today. A lot of self-reflection on working on your own heart, especially that verse about casting the first stone. If you have no sin, cast the stone. And of course, all of us have sinned and all of us have jealous hearts. And I think that was kind of an aha moment for me as you were saying it, when I was thinking about whenever we're in a life transition and we're in a place where we feel like we're less than, it's easy to look around and be resentful towards or carry resentment towards other people around us because we're like, why don't I have their job or that level of success, or why am I not capable of doing that thing? And I think that our hearts, it's really easy for us when we don't know God's plan to sit and stew in a place of jealousy. And that just, when you said that, that really hit me.
Yeah, I mean, when I talked about my life experiences and how my faith has grown stronger throughout the years. I was a single mom for a long time, for 8 years, and I saw friends getting married, going on cruises, going on trips, things, that were never going to happen for me, right? I was like, I'm a single mom. I could never afford that. I will never be able to do those things. And I think it would have been easy to be so jealous and almost hateful to be like, no, I don't want to hear about this. I'm not going to be happy for you. But at the time, I was like, my time will come. Things will happen as they're supposed to be. So why wouldn't I be happy for them? Cheer them on, be their cheerleader, their number one support. And that's really a mindset that I've tried to embrace. And it, I feel like it's truly paid off, if you will. I have a very fortunate life. I am able to do a lot of things, experience a lot of things for myself and with my family and for my kids. I'm able to set them up for success. And I feel like it's a reflection of, you know, trying to be that good person, trying to be supportive, and using my faith, relying on my faith to be like, you know what, maybe it's not your time now, but your time will come, whatever that looks like. So I think I feel like I've had a lot of moments that have really proved to me that, trusting the process, having the faith, you know, is very pure. It's very genuine. It's very real.
Mm, wow. Mic drop.
So yeah.
I'm like, this is so good,
Happy.
Sarah. I think, thank you for giving me and our listeners so much hope that God truly has a plan for them. I think that we could probably dive into what we've just been talking about for a whole nother hour.
Yeah.
But I want to wrap things up for us here. For you, I guess my first question is, how can our listeners support you in your journey?
Reach out, like, let's get together, let's have coffee, let's talk about, I love meeting new people, I love hearing your stories, getting to know everybody, whatever that is about. And it's, if you aren't religious, if you don't, know your faith, that's fine, let's still be friends. It's, the different, being different is what makes us work, right? It's what makes everybody work. And so I think just let's get together, let's get to know each other.
I love that. Yes. So you heard that from Sarah. Reach out to Sarah for coffee. I'll vouch firsthand that it's always fun to connect with her. So I know you'll have a good time. My other question, I'm serious when I'm asking this, Sarah, but I'm curious where you shop, because you being you're a textile, you had your degree in textiles, and I love the sweater you have on today. It's so cute. Do you have any shopping tips for us ladies that are on listening to this today?
Yes. In Fargo, my go-tos are probably Lila and Lavender, and Shields. And so I would say that my friend Angie Sunday, who's the director at Lila, is my very personal stylist, always pulling
Love
great
it.
outfits for me. So I appreciate that. Online, I would say Nordstrom.
Oh, I love it. That's fabulous. Yes, that's reminding me. I need to get over to Leela sometime. I haven't been there in a while. I've been
Yes.
in this cold weather. It's so much easier to just sit on my phone and do my shopping online, but I'm only
Mm-hmm.
happy with what I buy about 50% of the time. So it's so much
Yep.
better to go in the store, try it on. It always looks different on than when you see it in a picture or whatnot. So thanks for that
Definitely.
reminder. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being on today. Any last thoughts or closing comments before we wrap up?
Just thank you so much for having me. Thank you for allowing me a platform to share my story. It's something I don't really talk about and share. So I really, truly appreciate that. I think I would just say, be who you are. It's okay, whatever that is. Um, I will love you. Somebody will love you for who you are. I think it's just finding the peace. You'll feel much better just embracing who you are, where you are in life.
Sarah, so I love that. Just embrace where you are in life. God has a plan. Thank you so much for your positive message. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. We will catch you on our next episode.
Thank you.